Good morning, YouTube. Hurricane Helene, absolutely devastating, and lives lost. If you're affected as far as damage your home property, and my heart goes out to you. It's been a thing. We had plans to go to one of the worst affected areas, an event. I'll talk about it here in a little bit, and instead we're here in safe old Kansas.
Not safe at all.
No hurricanes here, but yeah, one big deal where this applies to the automotive industry is this little town called Spruce Pine, North Carolina.
This just blows my mind.
And this little town could disrupt the entire automotive industry for the foreseeable future because it was flooded out and production of their quartz mine could be shut down for a long time.
Right.
Hopefully not too long, because this is the world's leading source of a high purity quartz that's needed for semiconductors, for chips.
It's crazy because they grow diamonds in the lab, so I'm surprised they don't grow these quartz in a lab. It would be a lot cheaper too, right?
Well, I'm no geologist, but I don't know if you can just make a mineral from nothing. With diamonds, they crush them in a lab for a long time, and they're able to create that with pressure. That's how diamonds are. My dad's a geologist, so I don't know. My grandpa's a geologist. I did not follow in the footsteps of all that, but. Yeah, this is just a basic mineral off the periodic table that can't appear out of.
You sound so scientific right now.
But Spruce Pine in North Carolina is where a lot of this comes from. And if they can't supply it, then we're in the same situation we were a few years ago, where there was a big semiconductor shortage because of COVID, because the labor of people not being able to make it. So they were delivering cars with incomplete features. Like you couldn't order Super Cruise on GM cars, or they were building cars and then just packing them away, not working because they didn't have the computers to supply it. And it was a crazy time. So if it's really that bad, a long-term disruption, it's bad news for everything tech.
Yeah. Everything in the whole world is going to be shut down because of this one little town.
Right. So, yeah, looking at photos, of course, the devastation is just absolutely terrible. But there's the big photo going around. In the last hurricane, it was the Superbirds that got flipped and put, upside down. The wing was still holding it up. The one before that, the most famous one, was Freddie's P1.
Which is why I feel like he's like a hurricane chaser. You know, like the ambulance chasers. Like, Freddie's like, oh, there's a hurricane coming. There's a flood. I'm going to go to that town and check it out.
Right. Freddie and Ed get off on that stuff, for sure. I mean, I'm to a lesser extent. But this DeLorean, if you look at it, it's surrounded by sand. It looks like it was probably over the roof, the water line. So,
so is it completely totaled unless Tavares can fix it?
You would have to completely strip it out, and you'd have a good frame, a good body if it's not dented.
Right. It's not going to rust,
engine have to be torn down. The wiring, you'd need a wrecked DeLorean to replace all the wiring or rebuild all the wiring.
I mean, they have a lot of extra parts because they didn't get to build them all.
That is true. Right. That is true. Most likely this DeLorean will go to the scrap heap. But where we were supposed to go, and where we should be right now, is in North Carolina, in the Biltmore Estates area, because I got invited to go on the 300 SL rally. And I was going to show April my dream car. We were going to get a day in a 300 SL Roadster, the two of us, make a video about it. I could show April my dream car, my end-all be-all dream car.
Yeah.
And get to experience a multi-million-dollar car. But even better, forget April, I get one day on my own with a co-driver in the C111 Rotary, which is a concept. Mercedes made about 20 or 30 of these as a test bed for different engines. They tried out an old 617 diesel. If you know the old 300Ds, it's a pretty famous motor. I drove one in Monterey a year or two ago with a V8 in the back. It was a concept to try out the new generation of V8s. But they also did a crazy rotary engine that I guess dynos something stupid, like in the high 300s when the power hits sort of like a... they talked about the turbo lag, sort of like a 911 turbo, except for the rotary when you get in the higher revs.
Right.
It's sort of a similar experience to that. And I hope none of the cars arrived in the Biltmore Estates area before they showed up.
Yeah, especially that car. Because you can't replace that car.
So that C111, no example has ever been sold to the public. Mercedes kept all of them. I'm sure people have tried, but that means the car is literally priceless. I would guess $5 to $10 million if they ever cut one loose.
Right.
So
More than that. I feel like more than that.
it's possible. I mean, Mercedes does have the record of the most expensive
Yeah.
car ever sold. So that all got canceled. The Biltmore estate, I think, is still standing, but I saw the video where the entrance was underwater. We were going to
so
stay at the
bad.
inn. Like, they have no phone service. All
Right.
the highways where the road rally, like the roads are washed out.
There was
the
a
interstates.
levee that broke, water rushed in the town, and there's water all the way up to the roof of all these buildings. So
Right.
there's no chance. Because we were still going to go for a while, and then all of a sudden we saw some news footage that was completely flooded.
We saw
and it
the
was down.
footage before the official announcement of the cancellation. It was like, there's just no way.
No way.
And the interstate highway to get in there blocked off. No power, no water, no
Nothing.
cell phone service. So there's plenty of people where they're reported missing because they don't know.
Right.
Like they can't get out. They're probably in their house that's been flooded, but they don't know if they're dead or alive. It's terrible. We're lucky that the only thing that happened is our plans got canceled.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So.
How excited, because you've driven like the Gullwing for the Mille Mia. Like, is this up there? Was this rotary engine Mercedes up there?
I have no idea what to expect,
Yeah.
but yeah, it would have been really cool. I did the Mille Mia in the black 300 SL, so this would have been a very different experience. And thank you so much to the Mercedes Classic Center for the invitation. And hopefully they do, because I've been to 300 SL rallies, just seen it, where like one time they drove up Pikes Peak and things. But
Yeah.
but they do it every year, so next year hopefully they reschedule it. I don't know if that car was brought over to the U.S., I think, for the concours circuit and probably going back to Germany, the C111. But maybe I'll get my chance.
Right.
But in the meantime of all this happening, there's major news in the Mercedes world that happened. Another more sad news. Bruno Sacko died.
Right. Oh, yeah, the iconic designer for Mercedes forever.
Yes, he came along in the 1970s. The C111 was one of his designs. Crazy, like
Yeah.
reimagining the Gullwing,
Right.
basically. And he came along in the 70s and continued through the 90s, basically oversaw the design of the glory days of Mercedes, my favorite era.
Right.
And a lot of models. So Jalopnik recently posted a list of all of them, basically,
Why
his
are you
best
showing
designs.
this one?
They start with
No.
the first generation ML, the first, Mercedes SUV, not the G-Wagon.
Why is this on the list?
It's a big deal. It's a big game changer for Mercedes. This was huge.
Okay.
It's huge.
I'm gonna take your word for it.
It beat BMW
Yeah.
with the X5 by several years. They were in a class all their own as far as this sort of luxury crossover for a very long time with the ML. It's a
Right.
big deal. He's responsible for several generations of SLs. The R230 is one of them. The 129 is another. Two, I think, great designs. And then afterwards, Mercedes sort of, with the SL at least, they sort of lost the plot.
Right.
And now it's basically based on the AMG GT platform. It looks good now. I feel like the generation before that, the facelifts and things after the mid-2000s, got a little weird looking. S-Classes, the W220,
Yes.
which is sort of the iconic, every single movie had a bad guy. Same with
Right.
the 140. I'm doing chassis designations because this is
Okay.
very Mercedes nerdy, but
Right.
the 90s and 2000s generations of S-Class, both iconic cars.
Right.
Total icons. The 126 as well, he's responsible for. So like 3 generations of S-Classes. And I know chassis designation.
No, it's
nerding out, totally geeking out.
I
But
think it's really hot.
such
You
a
know,
long
stuff.
career. The CLK was another one that he came up with. Something to bridge between sort of the SL and
Right.
the E. And it worked, sort
Right.
of having a nice 4-seat convertible. And it was a unique styling. I'm going to do chassis designations again. But yeah, 210. I don't think he did 211 in the mid-2000s. Maybe he did.
Maybe he did.
And then before that would have been 124. And I think he was around for 123. Maybe before it was 1977. Yeah, 76, yeah. So he probably was.
I feel like you could be making all this up, and I'm just like, yeah, cool, okay,
No.
yeah.
Yeah, there's the
That's
124, the 500E, which was
Right.
built in cooperation with Porsche, the fender flares and all that stuff. Yeah, the 123 is on there. So yeah, that is the iconic invincible
Yummy.
Mercedes. Just solidified his reputation in the United States. The SLK,
Of course.
little bitty
Yeah.
convertible.
Ooh.
That's the C111.
What is it, like, are you really familiar with rotary engines? Like, why did that never take off?
I don't think they're very reliable. The cold start issue and hot start issue, and basically an angry Dorito spinning around with, rather than a ring, they're seals around the apexes, and it's just not something built for longevity. Great
Like
power,
angry Dorito.
unbelievably power-wise, but
Right.
Yeah, it's just a weird design. So, but it's German. Wankel is the one who came up with it, even though it's more famous for the Japanese. But yeah, Bruno Sacko, an icon.
Right.
I feel like Mercedes is one of those brands that hasn't lost the plot
No, not yet.
from their designs. I think the cars are still overall very pretty. If he were in charge of BMW, he probably would have died a lot sooner. He probably would like.
It's stressful.
Seeing the latest BMWs, he probably just would have keeled over sooner.
Well, now every time I see the new generation with the buck teeth grill, that's all I think about is just like a beaver car driving through. You ruined BMW for me, just this newest generation.
Yeah, but this guy is a legend, loyal company man to Mercedes.
Right.
And probably one of the most influential men when it comes to a brand and defining basically a whole generation, multiple generations really, of luxury. The standard of luxury of the world.
Right.
And continuing that and bringing in new ideas. So RIP Bruno Sacko made it to his 90s, so a nice long life.
Yeah,
and
he's done a lot more than we have.
Oh yeah. Whoa, Neelix, just having that legacy and that accomplishment, that achievement, that's got to be rare. To,
absolutely.
Just knowing what you've done, not goofy YouTube videos. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I would design really ugly cars. I can't draw.
Would like to see what you design.
Yeah.
That'd be a good challenge. Who designs a better car, me or you?